Imagine walking through a forest at midnight, where every shadow feels alive. Trees hum with stories, and the wind carries whispers of things that don't quite belong. In this place, myths aren't just old tales, they're real. But what if I told you that today, our myths live not just in ancient scrolls or around campfires. They thrive in websites, wikis, and secret online archives. Let's start with something straightforward. What is the SCP Foundation? At its core, SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. It's a fictional secret organization dedicated to capturing anomalous phenomena. Basically, weird stuff that doesn't follow the rules of reality as we know it. But here's what makes it fascinating for us. SCPs are not just horror stories. They function like modern myths. Why modern folklore? Because folklore isn't limited to ancient legends passed down orally. It evolves. In the digital age, the internet enables new myth-making. And that's where SCP comes in. On the SCP Wiki itself, there's a real department of mythology and folkloristics. According to their hub, this department studies everything from old myths to very recent urban legends. They treat anomalous phenomena as if they are part of human myth-making. That department's mission: sort fact from fiction in stories and use folktales to help understand how to contain anomalies. This is us literally watching a fictional organization treat their own lore like folklore, which is wild, but also super on the nose. One stunning example, SCP-4147, a set of encyclopedias labeled National Mythos Encyclopedia. Each volume describes legends and mythical creatures specific to different nations. These books are contained by the Foundation, not just folklore for fun, but artifacts. This is myth-making turned into anomalous object status. Also, in SCP lore, there's this concept of ancient species and lost lands. Take SCP Tuatha De Danann, tied to Celtic myth. In one write-up, the High Queen of a magical people retreats to a hidden island, which becomes myth. Over centuries, their kingdom fades from reality, returning only as legend. That's folklore writ large, integrated into the SCP universe. Now, let's think more broadly. In folkloristics, there's a tension between the credible and the incredible. Researchers who study urban legends often argue that for a story to go viral, it needs to feel just plausible enough. SCP entries lean into that. They're written like classified government documents, with precise containment procedures, risks, and security protocols. That tone makes them feel disturbingly possible. But why do people care about SCPs? Because the community builds these stories. Writers from all over contribute. They riff off each other. Their work is licensed under Creative Commons, so anyone can remix, adapt, or expand. That's very folklore-like. No single owner. These are shared legends. There's even a parallel in digital folklore more generally. For example, Slender Man, a famous internet myth, began on a forum and grew into a cultural phenomenon. SCP is similar, but even more structured. It's not just a myth, it's an archive of anomalies, built piece by piece by a huge community. Let's dive into a few SCPs that really show how this works. How SCPs are modern folklore. First, SCP-1000, which many fans interpret as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. According to the law, the Foundation has actively suppressed public belief about the real Bigfoot, using the folklore around it as a smokescreen. This is folklore plus institutional secrecy. It's a perfect mirror of how real cryptids are hidden in legends, but here they're literally contained. Second, SCP-2901, which feels like the modern Mothman. These beings are extra-dimensional, appear before disasters, and vanish. In classic folklore, Mothman is an omen. In SCP, they're an anomaly, terrifying, but studied. The myth becomes reality in a controlled way. Third, SCP-073, a reinterpretation of Cain from Judeo-Christian myth. This isn't a random monster. It's explicitly tied to a biblical figure. His anomalous condition, harm coming back to attacker, etc., transforms a religious legend into a paranormal case file. It shows how SCP adapts deep cultural myths into its own structure. There are more. Ancient gods, fey beings, cryptids, even whole mythic cities. The Department of Mythology and Folkloristics lists SCPs like Peekaboo Island, SCP-6078, which appears on ancient maps as High Brazil. There's also SCPs rooted in folk traditions about the voice taker, or chimeric creatures from medieval bestiaries. And don't forget fey myths and legends, a lore hub where the Foundation documents fey religious practices and trickster stories. We hear tales of children of the stars, of dream walkers, of magical beings guiding people. These are stories with all the feel of myth, but treated by the Foundation as real subjects of study. Another interesting layer, the SCP Foundation itself is structured like a real secret institution. It has a department of continuity that defines what's normal, keeping reality stable. That's folklore too. Myths often define what is other versus what is accepted. The Foundation, in its lore, does the same by keeping anomalies hidden, rewriting history, denying knowledge. By doing that, SCP is myth-making about control and normalcy. So, SCPs are modern folklore in three big ways. 1. Community-driven storytelling, like how folk tales evolve across generations. SCP myths evolve across contributors. 2. Institutional framing. The Foundation treats these myths like real anomalies, cataloging them, studying them, and containing them. 3. Mythical roots. Many SCPs are direct reinterpretations of ancient or urban legends. Bigfoot, Cain, Mothman, Fae, etc. But of course, there's a tension. Is SCP just a creative writing exercise, or could it be something more? The community debates this often. Some treat SCP as pure fiction. Others talk like it's real. One of the appeals is that the documents are so clinical and dry, it feels possible. And that ambiguity is exactly the power of folklore. You're never 100% sure. Now, some might argue, it's fake, though. It's just a wiki. And that's fair. But folklore doesn't need to be objectively real to be real in a cultural sense. Urban legends don't have to be true to be powerful. They just need to feel plausible, be shared, and evolve. In fact, SCP's success partly comes from that trust. Because it imitates bureaucratic documents, research protocols, containment policies, you feel like you're reading secret government files. That realism feeds the myth. As you listen, think about this. What SCP feels the most like a real myth to you? Which one would you believe if you found its containment file in a hidden folder? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear which anomalies resonate with your own sense of wonder and dread. So, to wrap this up, SCPs aren't just internet horror stories. They're a living, breathing digital folklore. A mythos built by a decentralized community, structured by a fictional but eerily bureaucratic organization, and rooted deeply in age-old human fears and legends. They're proof that myth-making didn't die with oral tradition. It just evolved. If you ever wondered, why do so many SCPs feel so real? It's because they're tapping into the same instincts that gave birth to our oldest myths, secrets, fear, the unexplained, and the human need to contain and understand what we don't yet. So I'll leave you with one question. Are SCPs simply fictional files, or are they the folklore of our digital age? Until next time, keep questioning, keep searching beyond the structure of what you know.